Hey, Steelers Nation. We're back with an exclusive video packed with the latest updates on our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. This way, you'll never miss any exclusive updates or exciting Steelers news. The whispers coming out of Pittsburgh right now are nothing short of outrageous. And honestly, if even half of it turns out to be true, the entire NFL is about to be flipped upside down in a way that nobody could have imagined. Word around the league is that the Steelers, yes, the same Steelers that have built their identity for decades on bruising defenses and smash-mouth football, are reportedly piecing together an offensive juggernaut unlike anything we have ever witnessed. The key pieces? TYREEK Hill, the undisputed cheetah of the NFL, a wide receiver who doesn't just run routes, but seems to bend time itself when he accelerates. And none other than Aaron Rodgers, the legendary quarterback with a rocket arm, an uncanny ability to dissect defenses, and the kind of aura that transforms an entire franchise. Now, imagine those two forces colliding in black and gold, backed by the history, tradition, and rabid fan base of Pittsburgh. The buzz is that Rodgers has already been in quiet discussions, and Hill's camp has expressed openness, which has sent fans into a frenzy of speculation. The combination of Rodgers' precision and Hill's insane speed is being labeled as potentially unstoppable. If you take a step back and just picture what this could look like on the field, the mind starts to race faster than TYREEK on a streak route. Rodgers has always thrived when paired with elite receivers who can stretch the field vertically, and there's no one in the league who does that better than Hill. Defenses that dared to play man coverage against Rodgers in his prime quickly learned the hard way that one mistake could turn into a 70-yard touchdown. Now, at Hill, who forces safeties to backpedal from the moment the ball is snapped, and suddenly you're staring at an offense where every play feels like a potential highlight reel. Reports are saying the Steelers front office has been quietly studying the cap space gymnastics required to pull this off, which only adds fuel to the fire that this isn't just fan fiction. The whispers suggest they're serious, and if true, it's a nightmare scenario for defensive coordinators across the league who would be left scratching their heads, trying to figure out how to cover speed, experience, and sheer talent all at once. And here's where it gets even wilder. Sources close to the situation have hinted that Rodgers has been intrigued by the idea of finishing his career in Pittsburgh, a city that lives and breathes football, a place where legends are forged not just on the field, but in the lore of the steel curtain and the terrible towel. Rodgers, who has always been about legacy, might be drawn to the idea of cementing his final years by transforming the Steelers into an offensive powerhouse to complement their gritty defensive tradition. Meanwhile, Hill has reportedly grown fascinated with the idea of playing in a market that isn't necessarily flashy, but has one of the most loyal fan bases in the league. Imagine Heinz Field on a cold December night. Rodgers scanning the field, Hill lined up wide, the defense frozen because they know that in a split second, the game could shift. It's the type of scenario that sounds too perfect, too dramatic, and yet it's being whispered louder and louder among insiders. Pittsburgh as the new epicenter of offensive speed? It's a wild thought, but it refuses to go away. Fans online have already exploded with mock-ups, edits, and hype reels, photoshopping Rodgers in the black and gold while Hill blazes past defenders in Steelers gear, and the reaction has been nothing short of explosive. Social media has been buzzing with takes ranging from cautious optimism to outright disbelief, with some fans calling it a fantasy, while others insist that where there's smoke, there's fire. Analysts are divided too. Some say it's just chatter to stir the pot, but others point out that Rodgers' situation in New York hasn't been as smooth as advertised, and Hill's camp has remained surprisingly quiet amid speculation about his long-term happiness. And when star players go silent, that often speaks volumes. The Steelers haven't publicly addressed these rumors, but that's exactly what makes the speculation juicier. The lack of denial, the carefully chosen words, and the subtle movements behind the scenes all point to a front office that knows it has the chance to make history. The narrative of Rodgers' arm and Hill's feet joining forces is becoming irresistible. Fans aren't just curious anymore. They're beginning to believe. The craziest part about all this is that it wouldn't just be a flashy pairing of names. It could fundamentally change the way the Steelers play football. For years, this franchise has been associated with gritty wins, defensive wars, and ground-and-pound offense. But suddenly, with Rodgers slinging the ball and Hill torching secondaries, Pittsburgh could transform overnight into a team that puts fear into opponents not with their hits, but with their ability to score in seconds. Think about the ripple effect. Opposing defenses would have to shift their entire scheme, which in turn would open up the run game for whoever lines up in the backfield. It would also free up space for other receivers and tight ends who would benefit from the constant double coverage Hill demands. The offense wouldn't just be fast. It would be multidimensional, unpredictable, and terrifying. This isn't just about a quarterback and a wide receiver. It's about a complete shift in philosophy that could drag Pittsburgh into a new era of offensive dominance. If this rumor holds water, the Steelers may have just found the formula to create chaos every single Sunday. And don't think for a second that the NFL wouldn't notice immediately. Television networks, advertisers, and even rival teams would be salivating at the matchups. Steelers versus Chiefs, with Hill facing off against his former team. Rodgers dueling with Mahomes in a primetime clash. The storylines practically write themselves, and you know the league loves a good narrative. Ticket sales would soar, jerseys would fly off the shelves, and suddenly, Pittsburgh would be not only a powerhouse on the field, but also a marketing machine. The idea of Rodgers throwing bombs to Hill while the cameras capture every second would become must-watch television. This isn't just about football. It's about entertainment, legacy, and rewriting the way we see the Steelers. For a team that has long been about defense first, this could be the boldest, flashiest, most daring move they've ever made. And the craziest part? The murmurs keep getting louder, the whispers keep spreading, and the possibility feels less like a fantasy and more like a storm building on the horizon. Something is happening in Pittsburgh, and if this is real, it's going to shake the entire NFL to its core. What makes this rumor so fascinating is the blend of logic and insanity it carries, because on the surface it feels impossible, but when you dig deeper, it actually makes a strange kind of sense. Rodgers has always been at his most dangerous when he has a receiver who can take the top off the defense, and Hill is the very definition of that weapon. Pittsburgh, for years, has lacked that one explosive threat who can terrify a defense with nothing more than his presence. Sure, they've had solid players and reliable targets, but no one in the mold of a TYREEK Hill. Pairing him with Rodgers feels like something crafted in a video game. The kind of move that would be laughed off in Madden franchise mode because it's too unrealistic, and yet here we are with insiders suggesting that talks might actually be taking shape. The chemistry potential between the two is enormous. Rodgers' ability to buy time in the pocket, coupled with Hill's skill at breaking free at the last possible second, could result in plays that look more like playground magic than structured football. It's madness, but it's also tantalizing. The ripple effect of this rumored union would extend far beyond just Rodgers and Hill. The Steelers' offensive line, which has faced its fair share of criticism in recent years, would suddenly have breathing room because defenses would no longer be able to stack the box. The fear of the deep ball would force opponents to play off, which means easier lanes for the running game, quicker releases for Rodgers, and far less pressure overall. Even the tight ends and secondary receivers would suddenly look like stars because Hill would draw so much attention. George Pickens, who's already been emerging as a serious talent, could thrive in a system where defenses are too preoccupied with Hill's speed to cover him tightly. It's the domino effect that makes this rumor so compelling. It wouldn't just be about two names joining a team. It would be about reshaping the entire identity of the Steelers. They would go from gritty survivors to explosive aggressors, flipping the narrative in a single offseason. The thought alone is enough to send shockwaves through every AFC locker room. And then there's the question of Rodgers himself. After all the drama in Green Bay, followed by the rocky start to his New York chapter, does he still have the fire to not only play at a high level, but also embrace a new challenge? If the whispers are true, then yes, because Pittsburgh offers him something no other team can, the chance to redefine his ending. He wouldn't just be another veteran quarterback chasing one last ring. He would be the guy who came to the Steel City, a place defined by its defense, and turned it into the fastest show on turf. That kind of story writes itself into history books. Rodgers has always cared about narrative, about how he's perceived, and what better way to cement a legacy than by doing something so shocking that the entire league has to stop and acknowledge it. He could walk away not just with another shot at a Lombardi trophy, but with the satisfaction of knowing he changed the DNA of one of the NFL's most storied franchises. It's the kind of ending you couldn't script better in Hollywood. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Meanwhile, TYREEK Hill brings his own motivations into this hypothetical. He's already a Super Bowl champion, already one of the most feared receivers in the game, and already cemented as a once-in-a-generation type of speedster. But what drives players like Hill is not just success. It's the desire to keep making history. In Kansas City, he was one piece of the Mahomes machine. In Miami, he's been electric, but questions linger about consistency and long-term stability with the Dolphins. Pittsburgh offers him a different kind of legacy, one where he becomes the focal point of an offensive revolution. He wouldn't just be catching passes. He would be the spark that transformed a defensive dynasty into a lightning-fast juggernaut. Imagine the pride in saying you helped rewrite the Steelers' playbook and identity. For Hill, that's a chance to expand his legend, to prove he's not just a product of a system, but a force capable of redefining entire franchises. The rumors suggest that's exactly what intrigues him. The fan reaction has been nothing short of a roller coaster. Steelers loyalists are torn between disbelief and excitement, some arguing that the team should never stray from its roots, while others insist this is the kind of bold leap necessary to stay relevant in today's NFL. Younger fans, especially those raised on highlight reels and explosive offenses, are drooling at the possibility, envisioning Rodgers to Hill bombs lighting up their screens week after week. Older fans remain cautious, clinging to the traditions of defense and toughness, but even they can't deny that the league has shifted and speed has become the ultimate weapon. Social media amplifies the drama, with memes, debates, and endless speculation filling timelines. It's the perfect storm of sports gossip, a rumor that's just wild enough to be dismissed as nonsense, but also logical enough to make people pause and wonder if the Steelers could actually pull it off. That tension is what keeps the buzz alive, and as long as no one outright denies it, the dream will keep growing. Ultimately, what we're left with is a story that feels less like a rumor and more like destiny slowly being written in the shadows. Rodgers, nearing the twilight of his career, searching for one last grand stage. Hill, at the peak of his powers, craving a platform to showcase just how much one player can tilt the balance of an entire league. And the Steelers, a franchise rooted in tradition but hungry to evolve, standing at the crossroads of history. The thought of Rodgers in black and gold, of Hill streaking past defenders under the lights at Heinz Field, is enough to give goosebumps to any football fan. Whether it happens or not, the whispers have already done their job. They've ignited imaginations, sparked debates, and reminded us why we love this sport in the first place. Because football isn't just about the plays on the field. It's about the stories, the dreams, the what-ifs that make every offseason feel like a blockbuster movie waiting to happen. And if this one turns real, it won't just be a story, it'll be a legend. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.